Have you ever wondered how societies grappled with rising prices before the advent of central banks, fiat currency, or even formal economic statistics? Today, we embark on a fascinating historical and economic journey to explore inflation's ancient roots. This isn't just a historical curiosity. Understanding pre-modern inflation offers profound insights into the enduring nature of monetary phenomena, shaping our perspective on today's economic challenges. Before the intricate financial architectures of today, economies predominantly relied on commodity money, primarily gold and silver. These precious metals, valued for their intrinsic worth and scarcity, formed the bedrock of monetary systems for millennia. Their physical nature inherently imposed natural constraints on money creation. This meant that inflationary pressures tended to be slower, less frequent, and often more localized than what we observe in modern economies. Yet, these systems were far from immune. The very definition and supply of money could, and often did, shift dramatically, leading to significant economic upheaval. The most pervasive and insidious form of inflation in pre-modern times was debasement. Rulers, facing fiscal pressures from wars, lavish spending, or simply the desire for greater seigniorage, would reduce the precious metal content of their coinage. They would then reissue these lighter or alloyed coins at the same face value. This act effectively increased the nominal money supply without a corresponding increase in real wealth. Each new coin represented less intrinsic value, leading to a gradual but inevitable upward adjustment in prices. Trust in the currency eroded, often leading to economic instability and a preference for older, good money. This historical phenomenon perfectly illustrates the early workings of Gresham's law. Without official price indices or economic reports, inflation was a deeply personal and often bewildering experience. People observed that more coins were required to purchase the same goods, a direct consequence of the debased currency. Wages, often sticky, lagged behind these rising prices, eroding real incomes for many. Savvy individuals and merchants began to hoard older, higher-quality coins, preferring them over the newer, debased issues. This rational economic behavior, driven by a keen awareness of intrinsic value, further complicated monetary circulation. The slow, creeping nature of these changes meant that inflation often felt like a subtle erosion of prosperity rather than a sudden shock, accumulating its devastating effects over years or even decades. Beyond debasement, significant increases in the supply of precious metals could also trigger widespread inflation. A prime historical example is the price revolution of the 16th century. The massive influx of silver from the New World, particularly from mines like Potosi, dramatically expanded Europe's money supply. This sudden abundance of bullion, coupled with a relatively slower growth in economic output, led to a sustained period of general price increases across the continent. This era provides a compelling historical illustration of the quantity theory of money in action long before its formal articulation. The price revolution reshaped European economies, contributing to the rise of merchant capitalism, altering social structures, and demonstrating that even commodity-backed money could experience significant inflationary pressures when its supply expanded rapidly. It is crucial for any economic analysis to differentiate between true monetary inflation and localized price increases caused by real economic shocks. Poor harvests, devastating wars, or disruptions to trade routes could certainly cause prices for specific goods to skyrocket in a particular region. However, these were often relative price changes, reflecting scarcity, rather than a general decline in the purchasing power of money itself. True inflation, in the monetary sense, occurred when the value of the currency unit itself diminished across the board. This analytical distinction, though not formally articulated by pre-modern thinkers, was implicitly understood through lived experience. Societies recognized when goods were simply scarce versus when their money was losing its fundamental value. The pre-modern world lacked the sophisticated economic tools we possess today. There were no national statistical agencies, no consumer price indices, and no central banks tasked with managing inflation. Consequently, the experience of inflation was entirely qualitative, rooted in daily transactions and observations. This made inflation harder to quantify and track, yet no less real in its impact. Trust in the monetary system was a fragile construct, built on the perceived integrity of the coinage and the stability of prices. When that trust eroded, it often led to economic instability, social unrest, and a flight to more reliable stores of value, such as land or other commodities. Understanding pre-modern inflation offers invaluable lessons for contemporary economists and policymakers. It underscores that inflation is not merely a modern phenomenon tied to fiat currency or complex financial instruments. Instead, it is a fundamental economic process that arises whenever the value of money, regardless of its form, undergoes significant change. This historical continuity allows us to analyze modern inflationary pressures with a broader, more informed perspective. It reminds us that the underlying principles of supply, demand, and trust in money are timeless, transcending technological and institutional advancements. By studying these ancient economic challenges, we gain a deeper appreciation for the enduring mechanisms that drive price levels and shape economic stability. Before the dawn of modern money, inflation manifested through the debasement of coinage, the sudden influx of precious metals, and the gradual erosion of purchasing power. While slower and often more localized, it followed the same fundamental economic logic we observe today. When the nature or supply of money changed, prices inevitably responded. In our next exploration, we will delve into why inflation's effects are rarely uniform, examining how different segments of society experience its impact unevenly. Asterisk. Disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only and is not financial or investment advice. Please like this video if you have enjoyed it. Every like we receive inspires us to create helpful content. Thank you once again for watching. We hope you have a blessed day.